Hey crafty friends, welcome to my first design team project for Artistic Studio Creations on Etsy. I will refer to her as ASC Supplies because that'll be easier for you to remember, and you can find her on Etsy. I will link her and all the social media in the description box down below. Super excited to be sharing my first project. I started this before I left on my vacation, and I finished up and did a little kind of craft with me tutorial to show you how I worked on these. I started with the one in the middle, and I used the rice papers from Stamperia, and there is a large variety of rice papers, and Crystal over at ASC Supplies has all of them, so definitely head over and check them out. This is a super fun and easy way to alter glass. You can put these on anything, a cardboard box, a cover of a mini album. It's fantastic. I have never done this before, so this was my first try. I did kind of get some wrinkles in my lady here because I was putting her on kind of a shaped vase. But what I did with all of these is I painted them first with chalk paint, and then I distressed them to get these worn spots. I wanted it to look, aged. So on this one I used a very pale pink background because I knew I wanted to put this lady on here, and she's just fabulous. I added this beautiful flower arrangement. Now, all of these will be for sale. I will be putting them in my Etsy store. If you're interested, you can certainly message me because I usually take a couple days before I can get them on my Etsy store. The next one I did was this bottle. And this was a bottle Savannah had some kind of alcoholic beverage in, and she was throwing it away. I was like, can I have that? Because I like the gold top. So what I did was I chalk painted this with like an ivory color, and then I took a brown, like a furniture wax, and I went all over the bottle to kind of distress it and give it this kind of like vintage wood look to it. Honey said it looked like wood anyway. So I used a sheet. Let me show you. Comes like this, and you cut out the clocks, and this is what I did with it, and I loved it with the key on there. I thought it was perfect. Then I added some burlap there, some rope up here, and then I added this bow, and then I decided to hang all kinds of goodness from all the little danglies of the bow. So I've got this key, this key, this key. I've got this charm. This is from Craft Fantastic, as is this little charm here. I've got this this little owl clock I've had in my stash forever, and then another key here at the bottom. I think this is also Craft Fantastic. So, yeah, love it. Love it. And then the last one, which is this one, this is a vase. This is a vase, this is a vase, and this is, of course, a bottle. But I did the same process. This is the one that I did the tutorial craft with me video on that you'll see after this video. And, I mean, these images are just fabulous, and it's so smooth once you decoupage that on. On the side, I used a couple of the smaller clocks. This one, and this is on a hot air balloon. This is a Saw Crafters. She's no longer in business, but I used the hot air balloon because of the hot air balloon on the front. There is another one on this side. And then I used rope at the bottom, rope at the top, and then there is a chain necklace, actually, from Craft Fantastic that I put around the top, and then I added the balloon charm there because of the balloon. And then I just added some miscellaneous charms from my stash. There's a grandfather clock here, a key, another key, a lock. I think this is a chess piece. And then of course I added a flower cluster to kind of, you know, colors to sort of match. And I had this brown paper in my stash, and I kind of liked the way it looked in the flower cluster, so I added that as well. So those are my design team projects to get the ball rolling. I have some really fun stuff coming up with paper that I'm sure that you guys will enjoy, and it's just going to take me a little while to create with it because it's kind of a big project. So I wanted to start out with something simple. I hope you will check Crystal Store out, ASC Supplies, all the links in the description box down below. And if you're so inclined, stay tuned for the Craft With Me tutorial after this video. Thanks for watching. Happy scrappy day. Hey guys, all right, let's go ahead and work on our glass piece. So this part's probably going to be pretty boring, and since I'm not an expert editor, you're going to get to watch me paint this jar. And I like to start on the bottom. Not everybody paints the bottom of their glass or their whatever they're altering, but I do, because if somebody picks this up, I want it to be complete. So I am using Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in, what color is this? Sheepskin. And I'm using, I think this is a Martha Stewart. Is it? I'm not 100% sure. And I'm going to keep my brush strokes all going in one direction all the way to the bottom and the top. Somebody asked me when I said I was going to start altering or painting glass if I would be doing a video. So if this seems boring to you, I am doing this because it was specifically, this part anyway, was specifically requested. But you know, the main part of this is going to be the decoupage and the fun decorating, I guess, embellishing of the bottle once it's painted. And it's not really a bottle, it's a vase. And the first coat is not, you know, it's not as important as the additional coats that we'll put on, but basically it's pretty simple as far as the painting. You know, you just want to keep your brush strokes all in the same direction. And this is the first coat, and then I will let it dry and come back and do a second coat. So rather than bore you with all of that, I will be back. We have our painted vase. I'm going to quit calling it a jar. It's not a jar, it's a vase. And I have a wet rag, and it is not sopping wet, but it's completely and thoroughly wet. And this is called wet distressing. And it's just where you go over and you want the paint to, in certain places, look aged, like it's coming off. And you don't want it, you know, like huge amounts of it. Like that is enough for that particular side. kind of like it when one area gets a little bit heavier of a distress. And on this one, because it's, you know, flat on different sides, I can pick which side I like the distressing on the best and use that for my focal. So I don't know if you can do this with other kinds of paint. I'm not that well versed. I really like that. With it at this point, I just know that with chalk paint and I believe milk paint as well, this technique is good. So I know nobody's going to really pick up and look at the bottom, but I like how those ridges kind of show up more. All right. Okay, that side got a little bit more distress than I like. I may actually end up painting over that a little bit, but we're definitely going to use this for our front. And these are some of the decoupage papers that are available at ASC Supplies. Some of these are pretty big, but like you could cut out this butterfly and put it, as a matter of fact, I might do that. There's another butterfly here, and then save this one for something larger. You've got this one, and you can, you know, you could cut out just the clocks if you wanted to. You can use, you know, the whole piece. This one's got a dress form and flowers and a clock and a butterfly, and you can cut out any of this stuff. You know, like if you just wanted to use the flowers, you could do that. But what we're going to do on this piece is we're going to use clocks. And I had cut out, what did I do with them? I know here's one. Oh, here we go. All right. So we're going to use this large balloon. And then I was thinking about decoupaging these little smaller clocks onto these balloons, these wooden balloons that I have in my stash. So I'm going to think on this. I'll be right back. This ugly rag out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and use, this is some cheap decoupage glue sealer matte finish that I had in my stash of stuff, and I want to just use it up before I open the other things that I have. So I'm going to get some of that on my brush, a nice amount, and I'm going to brush that on, and that's going to seal that paint so it won't chip anymore. Okay, and now I'm going to center my my rice paper that I fussy cut out of this sheet, and then I'm going to decoupage over it. And you want to be sure that if you get any brush bristles on there, you get them off, because you will be able to see them. once you decoupage this on there, it is not going anywhere. And I'm going to make sure to get my decoupage glue on the bottom as well. And I didn't mention, but I did do 3 coats of the paint. 3 coats. So I'm going to go ahead and, I'm just going to leave that. It just makes it look more aged. And, you might even want to leave your jar, your vase, or whatever to sit overnight. I used the heat gun to dry it so I could get this video done all in one morning. But anywhere you have paint, you definitely want to get it covered up with the decoupage glue. And you want to make sure you don't have any drips, because that won't look very attractive. So do be sure you check all the way around. Make sure you don't have any bristles that came off your brush. Get some down inside, it's okay. Just make sure you kind of brush it so that it doesn't look drippy. Okay. So now we're going to let that dry. We only need to do 1 coat of the glue. I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 hot air balloons, and I'm going to put my decoupage glue on them, and I'm going to be sure that my clocks are turned the correct way to where my 12 is at the top, because that would be really bad to go to all the trouble to do this and then the clocks are in the wrong position. Just gonna decoupage that right onto that balloon. I'm just gonna get that matte finish on the bottom part as well, and then I'll be back for our next process. I did to put rope at the bottom of my vase, and I'm going to put rope here as well. So I wanted to try this one out first before I did it on video. And what we're going to do is we're going to use some E6000. We're not going to use all E6000, so I'm going to put a couple of blobs. And the E6000 is a very permanent type of adhesive, but I want to use hot glue as well for an immediate, like, holding it on there right now. So I'm going to hold this on there for about 15 seconds. And then, so the hot glue will hold it on really good right now and allow the E6000 to permanently hold it. Now, if you were creating this for a decor piece in your own house and you know your house doesn't get 100 degrees inside, then you're safe to just use hot glue, I would think. But since the things I create are going to hopefully travel to a new home, I want to be sure that when it's traveling and if it's in a hot transport vehicle, that it's not going to come apart. And I want to pull this tight so there's no slack. Hold good pressure on there. Cap on my E6000, and the E6000 takes quite a while to dry, so you have plenty of time. So do your E6000 first and your hot glue right before you're getting ready to tack it down. Now here at the bottom is where I did my cut, so I wanted wanted this to meet at the same place. Okay. So then I like to take a little bit of hot glue and just kind of put a light film over that to keep it from fraying. And there we go. So that's not totally, we're not done by any means. Let's see. I've got my little wooden hot air balloons, and honestly guys, I'm still not sure. Maybe I put them on the sides. Yeah, maybe that's what I do. Let's do that. So I'm gonna get my E6000. Around the edges. And then I'm going to put my hot glue on the center. Okay. That's kind of cool. I like that. I love it when brilliant ideas just pop into my head. Doesn't happen very often. All right. There we go. Get our lid back on our E6000. And we'll be back for our next part as soon as those are good and dry. The thing I did is I decided, I got out some of my chain from Craft Fantastic, and I did add a necklace, and I dangled down the extra here, and then I cut off what I didn't need, and I just added a bunch of charms to this vase. So I'm going to not share the flower arranging. I will have already showed that, you know, how I end up arranging flowers in here after the fact, but that's a very simple way that you can paint and alter and wet distress, you know, glass. So there you go.